When a gas tank exploded, Jian Qingqing transmigrated into the body of a little girl who had just died of starvation. Looking at the skinny, starving family living in a worn-down house that did little to shield them from the rainstorm outside, Jian Qingqing felt that she would soon die again. But she hadn't expected her kitchen to follow her through time. Looking at the abundance of supplies in it, Jian Qingqing's eyes lit up. Great! She wasn't going to die this time. Using the supplies in the kitchen, Jian Qingqing led her family as they opened up the land for farming and building houses.
Chapter 1. Transmigration. Jian Qingqing was in a daze and she felt someone crying on top of her. What was going on? Was she not killed by the gas tank explosion? Could it be that she was so lucky that she survived the explosion? When she recalled the moment the gas tank exploded, Jian Qingqing was still trembling with fear. At that time, she was cooking when she suddenly smelled a strong stench that did not belong to the smell of vegetables. She turned her head and realized that the gas tank had caught fire. Before she could escape, the gas tank exploded with a bang. She felt a sharp pain and she lost consciousness. Thinking of this, Jian Qingqing also felt pain all over her body. She moved her fingers and opened her eyes with great effort. The crying stopped abruptly. Then, an excited woman's voice was heard. Call the father, quickly. She's alive. The big sister is alive again. Sitting on the stool, Father Jian thought that the mother of the child was too sad and started to. Chapter 1. Transmigration. Jian Qingqing was in a daze and she felt someone crying on top of her. What was going on? Was she not killed by the gas tank explosion? Could it be that she was so lucky that she survived the explosion? When she recalled the moment the gas tank exploded, Jian Qingqing was still trembling with fear. At that time, she was cooking when she suddenly smelled a strong stench that did not belong to the smell of vegetables. She turned her head and realized that the gas tank had caught fire. Before she could escape, the gas tank exploded with a bang. She felt a sharp pain and she lost consciousness. Thinking of this, Jian Qingqing also felt pain all over her body. She moved her fingers and opened her eyes with great effort. The crying stopped abruptly. Then, an excited woman's voice was heard. Call the father, quickly. She's alive. The big sister is alive again. Sitting on the stool, Father Jian thought that the mother of the child was too sad and started to hallucinate. He wiped his tears and said, hurry up and clean up big sister. Before it gets dark, let's send her off to the next life. At this moment, Jian Qingqing also realized that something was wrong. When she opened her eyes, she saw a dark and dilapidated house. The key was that the walls of the house were made of grass, and the ceiling was also made of grass. At this moment, strings of water were dripping from the straw ceiling, forming puddles on the mud floor. Listening to the conversation between the two strangers, Jian Qingqing had a bad premonition. As expected, she tilted her head and found that her hands were black and small. The clothes she was wearing were also tattered, and a large part of her sleeve was missing. She had transmigrated. When she realized this fact, Jian Qingqing moaned weakly. Looking at the conditions, it seemed that she was no longer in the 21st century. Although her moan was small, the two people in the room heard it. Father Jian could not believe it. He rushed to the bedside and carefully touched Jian Qingqing's hand. Big sister, you really came back to life. Jian Qingqing only saw a skinny man appear in front of her. His face was full of vicissitudes, and he looked to be in his 40s. At this time, the woman who had been crying on top of her also sat over and gently stroked Jian Qingqing's face. Jian Qingqing, who had never been so intimate with anyone before, shifted uncomfortably and avoided her hand. Mother Jian did not care. She wiped her tears and said, my dear daughter, wait for me. I will cook something delicious for you. I will not let you go hungry anymore. I will make plain rice porridge for you to drink without putting any chaff. It is very delicious. You must wait for me. After saying that, she patted Jian Qingqing's hand and quickly left. After Mother Jian left, Jian Qingqing could not resist the tiredness in her body and fell asleep again. This time, she had a dream. The dream was very real, as if she had experienced it herself. Jian Qingqing knew that these should be the memories of the original owner. When she woke up again, there were a few more people beside her bed. One of them was an old man with white hair. Jian Qingqing knew that this was the original owner's grandfather. There were also 3 boys. The eldest was the original owner's twin brother, Xiao Hu, who was 8 years old. The other 2 were Xiao Yi and Xiao Lang, who were 5 and 3 years old. Xiao Yi was her second uncle's son, but his second uncle had been sent to war and died on the battlefield. When the news spread, second aunt could not take the blow and passed away. After that, Xiao Yi lived with their family. As expected, the whole family was so hungry that they were all skin and bones. When Mother Jian saw that she had woken up, she quickly took the bowl of porridge and said, "Big sister, come, eat quickly. You won't be hungry after eating this." Jian Qingqing took a look at the bowl. The edges of the bowl were already full of potholes, and there was a bowl of rice porridge inside. The rice porridge was yellow and even a little black. If it was in the past, Jian Qingqing would not even glance at it, but now, it was unknown how long the original owner had not eaten porridge made from pure rice. The moment the rice porridge approached, saliva immediately flowed out of her mouth, and her stomach began to growl. Jian Qingqing immediately took the bowl and impatiently finished it in one gulp. After putting down the bowl, Jian Qingqing still felt very hungry. However, she knew that she could not eat any more. It was not because her body did not allow it, but because her family did not have any more food. It had taken a lot of effort for her family to get this bowl of porridge for her. This was the Great Wei Kingdom. It did not belong to any historical dynasty of her world. It could be considered an era of domination. This continent was divided into 5 countries, and the Great Wei Kingdom was in the middle. Although it was not the strongest, its strength was not bad either, so it was not invaded. However, disputes of all sizes had never stopped. The commoners in the chaotic times were the most bitter, and the taxes were the heaviest. Originally, after paying the taxes, what was left was barely enough for a family to survive. However, there was a drought last year, and there was almost no harvest. Although the imperial court exempted them from taxes, they dug up all the roots and ate up all the weeds. Many people still died. It was not easy for them to survive until the beginning of spring. The crops were all planted, and the leaves of the wild vegetables and trees on the mountain had grown out. Only then did they seem to have some hope. The original owner starved to death at this moment of recovery because she was the older sister of the twins. She was born weak and sickly. Their crops last winter were all rice and wheat husks that had not been filled with starch during the drought. If some millet was mixed in, there would be more bran and less rice. Everyone in the 21st century knew that people would die if they ate too much bran. People in this era also knew that, but there was nothing they could do about it. The original owner had eaten too much of it. Her already weak stomach could not take it anymore. She almost threw up whatever she ate. She did not dare to let her family know that she had secretly thrown up outside. But today, before she had finished eating, she had vomited on the dining table. She had even vomited blood. It did not take long before she could not take it anymore. So now, the bowl of porridge that she was eating should be the rice that was sifted out from the remaining rice mixed with bran. There was none left. In fact, they had already eaten wild vegetables for more than a month. She also noticed that the 3 kids swallowed their saliva when they stared at her just now. Jian Qingqing wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Under the current situation, even if she survived the explosion, she probably would not live until the summer harvest. She smacked the taste of porridge in her mouth and thought about how to live longer. When she came back to her senses, she realized that an old and young family member was staring at her. She was shocked and asked, "What's wrong? Big sister, are you still hungry?" "If you're still hungry, Mother Jian gritted her teeth. "I'll go borrow some rice." "No need, Mother. I'm already full." At this time, every family was short of food. Who would have extra food to borrow? Even if they could, they would have to beg for it. "Big sister, are you feeling better? Why don't I go and find you some good food? I've lived enough at this age. Even if I have to exchange my old life for your life, I'm willing." As he said this, old man Jian's tears streamed down his face. Father Jian and Mother Jian immediately knelt down. Father, it's because I'm not capable. I couldn't give you and the children a good life. Jian Qingqing quickly consoled, Grandfather, I still want you to live a long life. Qingqing is still so young. You have to see Qingqing get married and have children. Actually, old man Jian was not considered old in modern times. He was only 45 years old, but in this era, he was considered a person with a long life. Although Father Jian looked like he was in his 40s, his actual age was only 27. In this era, people had to do heavy labor every day. The wind blew and the sun shone, so they looked very weathered. Hearing this, old man Jian cried even louder, and a few children also began to cry. Jian Qingqing could not help but cry as well. They were crying about their own tragic fate, crying about the sorrow of the era.